Good to be here. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for your support and everyone who reached out to me to see how the year was going, people who sent care packages, texts I received. It was really nice to know that there were people back here thinking about me. So for those of you who don't know, this year I spent 10 months in Colorado Springs, and I was doing a gap year called Service Adventure. I lived with three other people, and my leaders are Travis and Shelby in the middle, and then Sam is on the other side. Together we lived in a house that was owned by some people from the church, and it was really good, distance from everything. The house was within biking distance from my work placement and from the downtown area, and Bethel Mennonite was the church that we were a part of. It was about a 15-minute drive from the house. So what did a typical week look like? So Monday through Friday, I would go to my placement. I worked from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and like I said earlier, I worked at Family Promise. So it was about a 15-minute bike ride from our house to my work, and I worked kind of a little bit of everything. I would help with admin, with case management. Family Promise is a shelter or a program for houseless families. So they would come to our program and they'd be with us for about 90 days, hopefully quicker than that, but different churches in the area would host them and they would stay there, and then they would kind of come to where our offices were during the day. So that's what Family Promise is. But I kind of helped with a little bit of everything. There was a lot of transition with the staff there, so from the time that I started to the time that I left, there was one person who had been there the whole time. So I was the second longest employee, which meant that a lot of stuff changed. I think it was all changes for the better. But by the end of the year, I was primarily doing communications type stuff. I was running the social media, the newsletter, the website, and doing a lot of graphic design, which I really like doing. And so that was fun to actually get to do it for a real life thing. So planning fundraising events and marketing and all of that stuff is kind of what I was doing more towards the end. So when I finished my work day around 4 p.m., I would bike home, and then that was time to be with the other people in my unit. We had kind of a dinner rotation, so if it was my night to make dinner, I would make dinner, rice and tofu. But if it wasn't my night, it was just kind of time to talk with the other people and hang out. I would usually do a puzzle or crochet or something and just kind of talk with the other people. And then we would have dinner. And then usually most nights we had something going on. That's one of the things I loved about Service Adventure was there was always something to do. So Tuesdays and Thursdays, we decided those were kind of our 2 nights to do our required things for Service Adventure. So we had to do a learning component and a worship night. So on Tuesdays, we would do our learning component. So we would take turns, kind of similar to dinner. We had a rotation for who would plan what we would learn, and then they would teach us. So that was pretty fun to kind of get to know each other and learn about their interests. I did one on Australia and made them all try Vegemite, so that was kind of fun. I also had Tim Tams, which are chocolate cookies, so that made up for the Vegemite. And then on Thursdays, we would have worship nights. So again, that was a rotation, and however that person wanted us to worship that week. Sometimes that would mean going outside for a hike, talking about a scripture, watching a movie, and reflecting. Those were sometimes a little bit of a stretch, but we made it work. Those were kind of our routinely nightly things, and then usually people from the church would invite us to go do something, or we just kind of have a chill night to do whatever we wanted to do. So then on the weekends, they were pretty much we didn't have anything planned. We didn't do dinners together, or we didn't have planned evening things. So it was kind of up to us what we wanted to do. It was a time to connect with people in the community or friends that we wanted to go be with. I would usually go for a hike on Saturday, and then on Sundays we would go to church. We were pretty involved. That was kind of expected as a part of the program. These are some pictures of people that were in our church and just kind of the different activities that they would involve us in. On Sunday at church, I would usually help with Sunday school, with the nursery. I was worship leader, reading scripture, kind of wherever they needed help. And I really enjoyed being so involved and how quickly they just welcomed us in. So we did a lot with members outside of church on Sunday, going on hikes. People, the middle top picture, one of the people worked at the newspaper place. So he gave us a tour of kind of how that all works. We made pepper nuts with someone on Christmas. Then I also had a host family, so that was really sweet to kind of have a family that we could hang out with. And they were kind of supposed to spoil us and take us places that we couldn't afford on our service adventure budget. So we went and did lots of things with them, and they would also take us out to eat. That was our favorite thing to do with people, to take us to restaurants. So that's kind of what a typical week would look like, but then we also did trips and other things that kind of meant we didn't always follow that schedule. So some of the trips that we got to go on, at the beginning of the year, we went up to Rocky Mountain National Park. We went to Estes, which is where someone from our church owned a house, so they let us stay there, and we love free housing, so we would go wherever. So that was really fun. We got to kind of hike and just explore that area. And we would also go up to Rocky Mountain Mennonite Camp pretty regularly. We could volunteer there, and it was about a 30-minute drive, so it was nice to be able to just go up there and hang out. In January, we were able to go to D.C. in Washington to participate in the Mennonite Action's big protest, and that's what that one big picture is. So that was really cool to just kind of be a part of that and experience what that was like. And our church, Bethel, as well as some people from here, helped us raise money in 2 days to purchase 3 plane tickets to go there, which was amazing. We took a trip to Texas for the eclipse, which I don't think I would drive that long to see the eclipse again, but I'm glad I did it. Seemed like the year to do it. It was a lot of time in the van. And then we have an end-of-the-year trip that we got to plan within our budget and whatever we wanted to fundraise. And again, someone at the church owned a house in Arizona, so we went there because it was free. So we went to Bisbee, Arizona, which was a cute little town on the side of a mountain, and it was very hot. But that's where I was 2 weeks ago, I think. The house did not have an AC, but we made it work. And it was just a fun time to kind of hang out one final time before going our separate ways. So throughout this whole year, as I was living in community, I was away from my family, I was doing service, and I was able to learn a lot about myself and to grow. And I'm so thankful that I had this opportunity before going to college. At the beginning of the year of Service Adventure, we chose a theme verse, and we thought we were getting prayer cards made. That was why we picked it, and then the prayer cards never ended up being made. But we had a theme verse for the year, so that was Galatians 6, verse 10 specifically, which was, "So then, whenever we have an opportunity, let us work for the good of all, especially for those in the family of faith." We all really liked the beginning part of that verse, reminding us how Jesus wants us to work for the good of all, and we had a lot of discussions about what did we think the end of the verse meant to us. To work especially for those in the family of faith felt a little off for what we were doing. We were serving everyone, and we wanted to serve everyone, and a lot of the people that we were working with wouldn't have been considered religious. So we had discussions about what we thought family of faith even meant. I really enjoyed being able to have these very open conversations with my leaders and with the other participant. Our conversations would range from very random, useless topics to very interesting, sometimes faith-based topics, and I'm just grateful that I could have that relationship with them. My leaders, Travis and Shelby, I'm very grateful for the way that they let us wonder and encouraged us to keep asking questions. And they tried to encourage us to decide for ourselves what we believed in rather than telling us or just telling us to just go with what we're told. This year really helped shape me to be more confident in what I believe in, and I was surrounded by people who took action to live out their life like Jesus. Surrounded by people who prioritized loving everybody over just simply going to church once a week, and that was very beneficial to see. One thing that I was not expecting to get out of this year was getting some hobbies. I didn't realize that I had no hobbies. I always would go to school, and then I had work, and then I would do homework, and then I would study, and do it all over again. So most evenings in Service Adventure, I would have some time where I didn't have anything to do, and I would usually be doing homework, but I didn't have to do that. So I got to learn about myself kind of in a different way of what do I actually want to do? What do I want to learn? And it would have been easy to just get on my phone, but I really tried to utilize that time for some good. So I learned how to crochet, and I started doing puzzles, and of course reading. So that was really cool to kind of have that time to just kind of get to do whatever I wanted and to make the most out of that time. So while this year was definitely filled with lots of good and growing, there were also challenges, and there were hard times. Living with others always comes with challenges. And I was pretty different from the other participant, Sam, in kind of what my version of clean was and what his version was. So I'm not the most confrontational person, but it really pushed me to have to actually have a conversation, and our leaders encouraged us that we needed to talk, and we would have to live together for 10 months, so we need to figure out how we can live together for 10 months. So it pushed me to have conversations with him, and through that, I was able to learn that he's just simply a person that he has to be told very directly what to do, and he doesn't mind. For me, I would take that personally, be offended, but that's just what he needed. So learning that early on in the year was super important for us to be able to live together. And I think that's a good skill for me to work on as I go on to living in an even smaller space with a new person next year in a dorm. So another challenge was being so far from family and friends and the routine of just that I had created living with my family for 17 years. It was just kind of weird all of a sudden. I just could do however I wanted to do things. So that took some getting used to, and now it's taking getting used to coming back to being with my family. But I also missed having people my own age to hang out with. There was one other participant, but other than that, Bethel Mennonite didn't have anyone our age. They had a lot of younger kids, which I really enjoyed, but it wasn't the same as having someone my age. And also, I worked with all adults, and there were little kids again at work, but again, no one my age. So that was something that was kind of hard, but I think it was also good to be able to do that, learn how I can do things with adults and not just people my own age. But it did make going up to camp really fun because usually some Bethel College students were up there, so that was fun. So even though there were some challenges throughout the year, they all really forced me to grow, and they seemed big and hard at the time, but things that stick with me the most are all the good memories, so I'm very thankful for them. I hope you feel like you learned a little bit about my experience, and maybe I've convinced some of you to do a year of service, maybe not Service Adventure, but something service-related. I'm so thankful just for all the support that I received from everyone here and the community at Bethel Mennonite in Colorado Springs, and yeah, thank you.